All right. I'd like to open a joint meeting and call the Parish Council meeting to order.
And I'd like to call the City Council meeting to order.
All right. We welcome you to a special joint meeting of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council. As presiding officer and chair, I would like to announce the following. This is a public hearing. To address the council on any item on this agenda, we ask that you please fill out the request form and submit it to the clerk prior to the call of the agenda item, or you will not be given an opportunity to speak. Staff assistance is available if needed. Items for submission to the council should be handed to Council Clerk Ms. Veronica Williams, who's seated to my left and your far right. When addressing the council, please state your name and title for the official record. We do have a 5-minute rule that is in effect, and we would like to ask that there will be no debating or confrontational statements. The front row to my left is used for media only, and food and drinks are not allowed in the auditorium. And I ask that you please silence all your phones and electronic devices at this time. Meeting procedures are by resolution and not by Robert's Rules of Order. All documents with reference to tonight's meeting can be found on our website, of LCG website that is. And finally, the council encourages your involvement in boards or commissions. If interested, we ask that you call 291-8800. Again, there's plenty of opportunities for boards, and you can check the website. There's a deadline, and it'll tell you what's available, and we ask that you please check our website out for all that information, or call the council office at 291-8800, and we can help assist you with that. Chair announcements. Item number 4. JR-014-2020 relative to drainage. Councilmember Gilbo has proposed an amendment to change reference made to directing / to direct to requesting / request in both the title and section 2 of the resolution. Item number 8. JO-56-2020 regarding mid-year budget amendments. Finance has requested that that item be deferred indefinitely. And we'd like to wish Ms. Kathy Doty, council receptionist, a very happy birthday. She will be celebrating it on June 26th. Happy birthday, Ms. Kathy. I'm sure she's ready to go out dancing as soon as the venues open up and they got music. I'm sure ready to play. For those tuning in from home or other locations, we ask that you call in to 291-8428 if you wish to speak. Please keep in mind that there is a delay when talking over the phone and via the TV and internet. Okay? I don't have any chair announcements at this time. I'll go ahead and move over to council announcements, both the city and parish council. We have no comments at this time. We're going to move right along to the executive mayor's president's report. At this time, I'd like to recognize our mayor president and welcome him to the meeting. And you get the mic, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you to both chairs and to both councils. Also, a special thank you to all of our speakers, especially on what we call open mic night. You know, it's not always easy to come up here and speak and address councils and the mayor president and you got TV cameras and all that stuff. So, look, no matter where you stand on an issue, I just want to applaud you for doing that because that's part of your civic duty. So I appreciate you and thank you for doing that. Mr. Chairs, we have a lot of information on the executive report that we'd like to talk about. But first, a very important proclamation. Do we have Bishop Harvin in? Mr. Chair, I'd like to call Bishop Harvin to the microphone to introduce a special guest.
Good evening, members of the Lafayette Parish Council and Lafayette City Council. My name is Carlos Harvin. I'm honored to assist Mayor President Josh Guillory as Chief of Minority Affairs. As our nation and our world continue to protest the killing of Mr. George Floyd and the recent shooting of Mr. Rayshard Brooks, killed by police officers who were sworn to serve and protect them, we are reminded that the struggle for justice in America still marches on. Against this backdrop, African Americans and people of goodwill prepared to celebrate the oldest national commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States, particularly in the Confederate States, known as Juneteenth. We are honored to be joined this evening by Ms. Karen Miller-Lewis, Treasurer for the Southwest Louisiana Juneteenth Committee. The President, Pastor Abram Freeman, is in quarantine because of COVID-19. He may be absent with us in the body, but he is here in spirit watching from home. This group has celebrated Juneteenth in Lafayette since 2005, and once again reminds us in 2020 just how appropriate this holiday is, especially in light of recent events that have taken place in Minneapolis and Atlanta. Just finally, a note, a Juneteenth celebration will be held this Saturday, June the 20th, at 4 p.m. at the Gethsemane Church of God in Christ on Pinhook. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Bishop. Now, are you calling our
Yes,
special
Ms.
guest for?
Karen Lewis, yes.
All right. Ms. Lewis, do you have anywhere? I'm putting you on the spot. You want me just to read? Yes. Okay. I probably should have asked you that before I called you up. Well, thank you for being here with us, and thank you for what you do for our community. We appreciate that. So, Mr. Chairs, I have a special proclamation with your permission I'd like to read.
Good.
Whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, whereby changing the legal status under federal law of more than 3.5 million unjustly enslaved African Americans in the Confederate States from slave to free. And whereas word about the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation was delayed some 2.5 years until June 19th, 1865, before reaching state authorities and African Americans in the South and Southwest United States. And whereas June 19th has a special meaning to African Americans and is called Juneteenth, combining the words June and 19th, and has been celebrated in the United States of America for 155 years. And whereas Emancipation Day or Freedom Day observations are held on or around June 19th each year in over 45 states, including the great state of Louisiana, and whereas Juneteenth was formally recognized as a holiday by the state of Louisiana in 2005 and has been celebrated annually ever since. And whereas the late Governor Kathleen Babineau Blanco served as the first keynote speaker for the Lafayette Juneteenth celebration in 2005, which was marked with a parade, a pageant, and a banquet held at the Martin Luther King Jr. Multi-Purpose Center. Now, therefore, I, Josh Guillory, Mayor President of Lafayette, do hereby declare June 19th, 2020 as Juneteenth Celebration Day. And be it further resolved that the city and parish of Lafayette are hereby urged to become aware of the plight of our African American brothers and sisters and dedicate time to learn about and celebrate alongside our fellow Americans on this very solemn occasion. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the office of the Mayor President of Lafayette to be affixed this 16th day of June, in the year of our Lord, 2020. And I'd like to present that to you. Also, Mr. Chair, and I thought he snuck out on us, but I always like to recognize our fellow elected officials in our great parish, and Jamie Abshire, City Council member of Youngsville, is here with us. Can we give him a round of applause? You see, I wanted to give you a round of applause because I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming out here because we're one parish. And the city of Lafayette would not be what it is without the city of Youngsville. And the city of Youngsville would not be what it is without the city of Lafayette and our unincorporated area. So we are one parish and we celebrate that. So thank you. Yes, sir. Amen. And I don't see any other elected officials. If I missed you or if I didn't say your name, stand up. Okay. Everyone seated? We're good. All right. Also, in the executive report, to the chairs, I'd like to also give some information in regards to item 4. It's a good segue as we continue our discussion, our meeting. So as you know, drainage is a top priority of my administration. During the campaign, I offered a comprehensive plan that included regional watershed initiatives and establishing accelerated maintenance of our drainage infrastructure, in addition to support for dredging the Vermilion River. Many of you share in that position. Since taking office, only the COVID-19 public health emergency has taken more of my time and my energy. One of my first acts as Mayor President was to split our Public Works Department to create a standalone drainage department with greater visibility and surely greater accountability. You may remember that as both councils voted for it, and I thank you. You may also remember that my administration is actively working with Fenstermaker on our recurring drainage maintenance plan to ensure a timely response to the ongoing needs of our parish drainage infrastructure. Yesterday, I met with representatives from the Dredge the Vermilion Group, who was here last council meeting, and I will continue to work with them on initiatives to alleviate flooding along the Vermilion River. Though the river is a tremendous component to be considered in our drainage operations and planning, it is important to note that drainage exists all over our city and our parish. As you can see from the flooding heat map each of you have, and we have some extra copies for the audience right up there on the desk if you'd like to pick some up. As you can see from the heat map, a large percentage of our flooded areas are nowhere near the Vermilion River, though they're tied together. As a reminder, here's an information on projects from the drainage presentation that was given last meeting. So I pulled out the slides from last council meeting just so we can highlight it and all be on the same page. So currently, we have 4 channels under construction. Bayou Karen Crow, lateral 8, Coulee Mean West, Bayou Cutator, lateral 6, Edith Coulee, lateral 3. And also, there are channels that are currently being bid out, 7.6 miles worth to be exact. These include Coulee de Poche, Indian Bayou, Bayou LaSalle A, lateral 1, Edith Coulee, Indian Bayou, lateral 7. And by the end of this year, 2020, 44 channels will be completed for 72.6 miles, and that's at an estimated cost of $11.5 million. So we're very excited about that. There's also roadside ditch maintenance that's going on, and we're very excited about our drainage department and all their hard work. So as you recall, 2 weeks ago, we spoke about this, specific initiatives that this administration is doing as it relates to drainage. 370 miles have been assessed and targeted as it relates to roadside ditch maintenance. What's really exciting about this is all of these efforts are being done in-house with our own Lafayette Consolidated Government Drainage Department members. So again, this was presented last meeting 2 weeks ago. 190 miles have been maintained to date, and as a member in our communications department pointed out, and I'm not a math major, but that's enough to cover from here to Shreveport. So working hard, very excited, very, very proud of our public works and drainage department employees. And as we mentioned, we are developing a recurring city parish maintenance program, recurring maintenance plan for roadside ditches, along with a parish-wide detention plan. You have to have both of those layers to work hand in hand. So again, to my colleagues, this information was provided to you 2 weeks ago, and we're excited to bring it back up. Since January 6th, 986, since January 6th of this year, just for clarification, that's when I was sworn in, and that's when you were sworn in. Since January 6th, 986 service requests have been submitted. Of those 986 requests, 549 requests have been closed. Most of this progress has taken place while our crews have been working within the safety parameters required during the COVID-19 public health emergency. This is a tribute to the hard work and focus we are seeing. Here are some additional examples of the work our drainage department is actively doing to help our Lafayette Parish citizens. Flooding concerns are being addressed in the Kingshaven and Timberwood subdivisions. I believe that's Ms. Cook's district. Fallen trees are being removed from Coulee Mean in the Bendale Gardens areas, and also Ms. Cook's district. In the Queens Harbor area, the LCG Drainage Department is working with the adjacent property owner to excavate outfall. Debris is being removed from the utility crossing within Isaac Vero Coulee near Cannon Drive to improve flow. When drainage crews are planning to work in a specific area, door hangers are distributed within the neighborhoods to inform citizens of the work that is taking place and how to prepare appropriately. This week, along with St. Martin Parish President Chester Cedars I will be signing a letter of support for the Joe Daig Channel Improvement Projects, providing a second drain out of Cypress Island during a flood event to take pressure off of the Vermilion River drain that now handles nearly 100% of the flood flows out of the swamp. Very significant. The engineering is complete, and the project is nearly ready to break ground. However, it is competing with more than 300 other projects throughout the state. So this regional support will give this project more momentum. So thank you to President Cedars. I assure you, drainage is my top priority. I've requested the quarterly meetings of the Conference Committee on Drainage to ensure that our drainage efforts are clearly communicated both to the councils and to receive citizen input. Not only do I have weekly meetings with my public work and drainage directors, but I also frequently meet with the mayors of the municipalities within the parish to address drainage issues from multiple perspectives. We're establishing quarterly meetings of all parish mayors and drainage directors, along with their engineers and public work directors, to ensure all of our efforts are coordinated. Additionally, I work diligently with my fellow parish presidents and the Acadiana Planning Commission to address drainage on a regional front. Most recently, with Tropical Storm Cristobal approaching, we were in constant communication with Donald Segrera of the Tesh Vermilion Freshwater District to monitor the status of the pumps, ensuring we keep the river levels lower during storm events. Now, I understand the desire of the councils to feel included in the work that is being done to address drainage in our city and our parish. I truly do. As you know, I'm available for regular meetings. I'm also available by telephone, text message. I'm not sure what purpose a resolution like the one that's proposed in item 4 is supposed to serve, since I'm already working on the issues contemplated in the measure and all of the others that impact the complex interplay of factors that make up our drainage challenge. So, please let me suggest that picking up the phone, sending an email or text will get you whatever you need for your own information or your constituents without taking up everyone's valuable time for what ends up amounting to political theater. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. All right, moving right along. Resolution, this is a public hearing and blue sheets are available for anyone wishing to address the council. The 5-minute rule does apply. Chairman, please read.
Joint Resolution 14, 2020, a joint resolution of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council directing the Lafayette Mayor President to develop project proposals to address flooding along the Vermilion River within the jurisdiction of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government.
Okay. I need a motion and a second from the parish to consider. I don't have a motion or a second from the parish. You want to try to get a motion and a second from the city? Hold on, I got you.
Need a motion?
Hold on. Go ahead.
Need a motion and a second from the city. Motion by Ms. Nanette Cook, second by Ms. Liz Hebert.
Okay. Need to chime into legal at this point.
Give it back. You take it.
Can't take it.
Huh? Hold on. Legal, do your mic works back there?
I believe so.
Okay. So what happens if the parish council doesn't make a motion or a second?
Then the resolution is voted on only by the city.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to the parish council one more time. Is there anybody wanting to make a motion or a second to consider and have discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'm willing to make that
Hold
motion
on. You just,
for discussion.
okay. I got a motion by Gilbo. Do we have a second? Second by Councilman AB. Okay. All right. Councilmember Gilbo has proposed an amendment to change the references made to directing, to direct, to requesting, to request in both the title and the section 2 of the resolution. And do we have a motion or a second from the parish council to amend that?
So move.
Had a motion by Councilman Gilbo. Do we have a second? Got a second by Councilman Tabor. At this time, I'll turn it over to the chairman for this Lafayette City Council to go
Okay.
ahead and get a motion in a second.
Need a
for
motion and a
consideration.
second for consideration from direct to request. Motion by Mr. Andy Nakane, Second by Ms. Nanette Cook.
Okay. Now we'll go to council discussions. Before I give it, I have Ms. Cook and Ms. Carlson let them. I kind of question the same thing. We've had a bunch of meetings about drainage and everybody's coming up and the mayor president has given that information. So I'm interested in hearing from the authors as far as why do we feel this is needed if all of this information is being provided. And we had a late meeting going over the drainage and going over what we were doing. We had Public Works give a description of all of the projects. So I'm just curious. I'm not saying how I'm voting right now. I'm just saying at the end of the day, I'm kind of juggling because resolutions really is just saying what you intend to do. It's not an ordinance. You're not, I mean, in my opinion, administration is doing exactly what he said he was doing for drainage, and we have the information. So unless I'm missing something, unless somebody's not getting phone calls or somebody's not getting projects done in their district, I'm just curious, as to why we feel that this resolution is actually needed to get something that is being done. And, with everything that's been taking place with COVID-19, I can tell you, if you think it's hurt business, it's hurt government because it has slowed us down from getting things done because you have to take all of this precaution and everything else. So I think we're doing the drainage. I think the Brian Smiths of the world and the Chattanoogas and the Public Works people are doing what they need to do, and they're calling me back and getting with my people. I have no problem lining up meetings. So unless it's not getting done, I'm interested to hear from everybody else. But I just wanted to give my 2 cents. It's probably not worth 2 cents. It's probably worth 0. But it's just from where I'm coming from. I've been on this council for 8 years, and there's a lot of resolutions. And I'm just curious as far as for why we think this is needed. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Councilman Nanette Cook, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I want to make it clear that I am not here to criticize Public Works at all. I know they have been working very hard, and they are always responsive to my calls. It is not about that, and I don't perceive this as a political statement either. My concern is we're about to move, and it was going to happen at this meeting initially. We're about to move $5 million that was identified to help dredge the river project. We're about ready to move that so that it's not going to be in that line item anymore because we apparently need that in the general fund. My intention of bringing this forward was to make sure that we keep our eye on the ball in terms of the flooding along the Vermilion River. There are several hot spots. I totally agree with you on that. And look, I appreciate the update. And maybe had we not had the resolution, we might have gotten all that information again. So thank you so much for all that. And yes, there are lots of great projects. I guess my intention on this is to make sure. The one in particular that you mentioned was the Cypress Island Swamp Project that really will divert some of the river water. I mean, I want to make sure that we get a good eye on what can help reduce the flow of the water to the river, some detention retention project. And I know I've had several conversations with Public Works, and I know that they're working on that. And I guess this was just to push it forward a little bit faster so that we can move there. All the miles of channels that we're cleaning and yes, that's excellent. We need to do that. But part of the discussion we had 2 weeks ago is that making it worse for the people along the river? And so while we keep cleaning and cleaning, we're kind of pushing the water literally down the road to the Vermilion, and there's some issues there. And, we are fighting about the dredging of the river. We're not sure. We were told that wasn't a viable project. So, why put $5 million into it when it really wasn't going to help? So if that's not going to happen as far as that particular project, and first of all, if it would ever happen, by the time it ever happens, waiting on the federal government to do it, we're going to flood 10 more times. So I guess my intention is, we have some money that possibly could do a project on our own. Like you said, we've been doing that, but I want to look at a project that will alleviate, some of that water that's going to the Vermilion. And I mean, the cleaning is wonderful, but I think we need to look at some other projects. And I think there are some out there. And so I just wanted to make sure that, again, we're talking to all the people that were brought to the meeting, and you're talking to all those people. So that's where I want this to continue to go. And that was the intention of this. I'm not fussing at anyone. That's not my personality. I'm not here to tell you you're doing a terrible job. I'm here to tell you that I think we need to move forward just, maybe a little faster with we can as far as identifying something that is going to relieve some of that water that goes into the Vermilion. That was the whole intention of this, and that's hopefully where we'll get. So I'm going to, let someone else speak, but that's my 2 cents, maybe 0 cents, but that's it. Thank you.
It's all good. I appreciate it. Councilman, did you want to chime in, or you want to wait and let everybody? Okay.
So I think you highlighted a lot of things that we're all on the same page with, and that is alleviating water or preventing water getting to the river. If dredging's not the silver bullet, like we were told last week, basically, or 2 weeks ago. But I want to just highlight the parish-wide detention plan that we're looking to introduce. And we're on the infant stages of that, but I think I've shown my pace is pretty quick, but thorough. We like to be thorough, efficient. So you're right. Just a maintenance plan, a recurring maintenance plan, that's just one layer of the onion. You can't just do that because, like Councilwoman Cook said, my appreciation of the facts are that it would just move water quicker to the river. So we have to have a parish-wide detention plan, and we can't look at this as the city of Lafayette. We can't even look at this as the parish of Lafayette. We got to look at this as a regional approach. So that's why working, the ability to call Chester Cedars and Larry Reshore, all the different parish presidents goes a long way. So parish-wide detention plan, the Joe Daig project. I mean, this week that I've gotten it highlighted and to my attention, picked up the phone, working with President Cedar. So that's good. So I'm excited. You're excited because I'm really happy about that. So that's another regional approach. And then one idea I just want to float around to you guys, because I'm going to have to introduce this here in a couple months once we coordinate with civil service and some other factors. But our government, our people would be benefited by a hydraulic engineer on staff. Right now, we have to contract that out. And Councilman Gilbo and I have spoken about this. But we waiting for a contract hydraulic engineer who may have 40 different clients slows us down. It also costs a lot more too. So something that our public works and our drainage departments had introduced to me this week in one of our one-on-one meetings. So just kind of want to plant that seed. Again, we have a lot more factors to discuss before we get to that point with civil service and other areas. But just want to thank you, and thank you for your attention. Appreciate it.
Okay, Councilman.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm not going to go off like I did two council meetings ago, but again, I do want to compliment the staff, Mr. Mayor President. I think they have done a good job, and I certainly would not want to be in their shoes given the breadth of their responsibilities and their timeliness to addressing the issues. It's unbelievable, and the numbers speak for itself. I hear what you're saying. And I do appreciate all the outstanding work that has gone on and continues to go. And I think we are making great strides with our water management efforts in this parish. I guess the reason I'm wanting to bring this forth is we're talking about the river. We're getting the water down there real quick, but then what happens to the water when it gets into the river? Are there some remediation kind of projects that we can put in place maybe to help to fan that water out instead of letting it go into the houses and so forth? So we're talking about retention, detention, going into the swamp. I'm glad to hear that there's going to be another drain. I think we're all on the same page wanting to do. I think more than anything is just trying to formalize this process maybe a little more. And again, it's coming to you as a request. I appreciate the information. I think we all were aware, but we just needed to hear it again and remind us of what's happening. And again, I'm focused more on the river. I appreciate all the other stuff, but all of these things that are happening has a tremendous impact on this river. And once it gets into the river, it builds up, and where does it go? Into the homes, into the businesses, and so forth. So that would be my intent with this resolution, to go forth with it.
Okay. Really and truly, the resolution, in my opinion, should be directed to state and the feds, because that's where we're not getting the help. That's where we're not getting what we need done, in my opinion. We're still waiting on permits. We're still waiting on a lot of things. I know what our local government's doing. we get the reports, we see it. I just feel that we've been bottled down with not getting state help and federal help as much, because that's a lot of money, and there's a lot of times that we can't get things done because we're waiting on the federal government.
Mr. Chair, give me an opportunity to respond to.
I will. I just feel like a resolution should be directed and ask for help on the higher end to say that this government as a whole recognizes what we need, and we're asking them to move faster to help us get the spalls over to Cypress Island, and ask them to come in and do what they can do. Because even if they said, even if we had all the money in the world, we can't go touch the Vermilion right now because we're waiting on the permits. You know, so we have to go through the Corps of Engineers. So I don't find it's the local governments not doing their job. I feel like we should get more help from the Corps of Engineers, because at the end of the day, that's why we're handcuffed, so to speak, when it comes down to the river, in my opinion. But I understand what y'all want to do with the resolution. It doesn't matter to me whether it passes or fails. I believe in the local government's going to do what we can. I think if we're going to ask for help, I think we should ask for the higher up where we could use it. So, all right. Mr. Andy Nakane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to agree with everything you said, Chairman Nakane. The $5 million that we have to spend on the river, I promise you our Mayor President would find another 15 if he could spend it on the river, but he can't. He's legally bound. He can't do it. He has to have federal approval. His hands are tied. If he puts a shovel in that river to do anything, he's breaking the law. So that's why we're having so much issues with water moving to the river. Obviously, he's trying to do everything he can to divert the water away from the river, yet still create drainage in the parish and the city. And that's going to be a multi-parish task to accomplish this. There's no way that Lafayette can solve its own problems. And I agree with Chairman Narcan. This needs to go higher up the ladder. This river problem is not going to be solved locally until we can get the state and especially the federal level to agree to get this project moving forward. I'm meeting with Mr. Greg Ellison, Lieutenant Colonel Greg Ellison, soon. He's Clay Higgins' advisor in the office here locally. That's going to be the highlight of our discussion, is to go into this project with the federal help. We need to get permits. We need to get the Corps of Engineers to allow us to do what we need to do to save our parish and our city and the people in the Acadiana area who also are affected by this river. It's not going to be solved just by us. And we need to move this resolution up the ladder. That's the only way it's going to get done. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Gilbo, you have the floor.
Just wanted to clarify, at the last meeting, you recall, I continuously said throughout the meeting there was one party that was not present that night, and I was referring to the Corps. I mentioned that many times, and I absolutely agree with both of you. They need to be part of it, or the lead. However, I think what we're asking in this resolution is within the jurisdiction of LCG, what are some things that we might be able to do that would enhance or mitigate the flooding on the river? That's all we ask. We're not asking to go outside. If there are no projects that can be done within our jurisdiction, that's the final word. But if there is something, anything that we can do to help, and that's what I'm asking. I agree, it's got to be something at a higher level, and they're not in this room this evening as well. Thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman, Ms. Cook, you have the mic.
Okay, yes, I want to speak to what John said as well. That's, the whole intention of this is really just to find something that we can do to help alleviate water to the river. We understand we can't do anything in the river itself because of the Corps now. But just a reminder, the Corps did give us permission. They were going to give us permits if we wanted to do any spot dredging. But we determined that was probably not going to be even worth the $5 million as well either. So, you know, there were some go-aheads if we needed to do that, but in the study it was not determined that was going to be beneficial. So really what I'm looking for with this resolution is simply to identify detention retention areas, anything like you talked about that we're working on. So, you know, this is not a bully resolution. It's just trying to bring to the forefront what's happening, what can we do in terms of reducing water to the river. and your description of everything that you talked about, there's a list of things that are being looked at. So we're not really asking anything of this resolution other than to identify those particular things that we can do within our jurisdiction to help reduce water to the river. And, I mean, I don't know why you would vote against that, but again, my 2 cents. Thank you.
Councilman Lazar, do you have the mic?
My comment, I guess, going to veer off course just a little bit, and it's the fact that this particular point, I feel like I know more about drainage. I almost feel like I'm an expert, if you will, in drainage. And I just want to make sure that we don't lose, and drainage is important. We realize that. Just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of the fact that we do still have some other pressing issues as well. So when we say that drainage is the top priority, give the impression that some of these other matters are being ignored and we aren't giving as much attention to them as they may deserve. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Really, honestly, I'm conflicted by this because if you look at the heat map that we were provided, we could basically draw a hot spot over my entire district, right? So there is no greater, when you're talking about priorities, Councilman Lazar, there's no greater issue facing my particular district than drainage. But, as people were talking, I think we are all very we're very quick to compliment Chad and his group and everyone who's met. I would like to see them do a better job and respond quickly and provide more solutions than what I have seen. But I will say this, every time that I've called them, they've come out and met me at constituents' houses, gotten down in the coulees with me. Last week, I had a meeting with them and a drainage engineer from one of the smaller municipalities in the parish, where that drainage engineer went to town on Brian and Chad for 3 hours straight. And Chad and Brian's response was, you know what, you're absolutely right, and I appreciate your input, and we need to have more meetings like this. My point is, every time that someone has brought up a better idea or how they can improve, I've never once felt that they rebuffed that criticism. They welcomed it. And so with that said, I would move that we table this resolution until a further point where we feel the administration and or the drainage department is not meeting the standards that we would like to see. Could they do better? Absolutely. But no, but you're always improving. Are you perfect? I'm not perfect. There are always rooms for me to improve. And when somebody brings an improvement to me, and I'm willing to accept that, then I'm growing and getting better. I think that is the standard that we hold them to. Not that they're perfect. That's an impossible standard. There's always something that we can do better. But to do a formal resolution, I think should have some weight to it. And right now I feel like it is more of a formality than it is accomplishing something that is not actually, we're not addressing a need that's not getting done right now. Can they do better? Absolutely. Are they growing? Of course, they're 5 months into brand new jobs, and I've not once met with them and they didn't want to listen to anything that I said or even something that a constituent said. And so I would move that we defer this until a point where we feel like we are not getting somewhere with the proper, with the administration and his departments.
You know, I don't know how many of y'all are aware of it, but I think drainage would be a lot better if we had more crews. How many crews we started with years ago? We 10?
My mic hot?
Yeah, your mic's hot.
That's important. I'm so glad that you said that because
I mean, we're trying to operate drainage and take care of
you are
all of these
spot on.
things with 3 drainage crews, and you just said 950-something requests.
It's impressive, and just the ideas that they come up with. I'm serious. Just let just let them spread their wings and fly, man. Just get some good ideas out there. Little things like getting another dump truck. You would think, what's a dump truck going to do? Well, if they don't have to sit around and wait for the other dump truck to get back. Got them another dump truck, contracted it out to save money. more efficiency. That's why you're seeing the numbers. But I'm smiling because we've had this conversation when we had our Director of Public Works, Director of Drainage, and they're probably listening in the back. We say, give us your North Star number, set an azimuth. What do you need to accomplish the goals that you're getting at? So when the budget that we're going to submit to the councils for your consideration, you're going to see a decrease in spending in a lot of areas, because we have to, because of the fiscal situation we're in. Drainage is not one of them. Public Works is not one of them. Traffic roads and bridges, another priority, as Councilman Lazar accurately pointed out, we need to not lose sight on. You may see kind of maintaining the same expenditures. But regardless, you're right, we need more crews, we need more personnel, we need to do a better job recruiting. Okay, when there's some factors out there, especially with the current economic situation.
I was just trying to get to the point that in a perfect world, if we had the money and we really want to get it done, I think it would be done. But we're shorthanded. We're working with minimum crews, and the requests keep coming in. And it's tough to, from a financial standpoint, take care of everyone. You're not going to please everyone. So I think at some point, if this community is tired of the drainage, lack of drainage, and it takes 180 days to fill a request of service to go clean a ditch, and then when you got to work with the state because there's debris blocking underneath the bridge, but yet it's a DOTD bridge, and you got to get permission. Like it's an act of Congress to get things done. So, and this is going to be funny, but it's not. It's true. Until the community decides 3 drainage crews is not enough, and we need more personnel in Public Works, more to handle the detention ponds, and have money for the parish to buy land and create a detention to where we can hold the water north so that the Vermilion doesn't get a rush. And then when it slows down, and at that time, then you slowly let the water north come down to relieve the people on the Vermilion River so they're not flooding. That all takes the almighty dollar. And until all of those things, until the community comes and decide we want more Public Works, we want more dump trucks, we want better, we want to hire a hydraulic engineer, we really want to tackle drainage, there's a fund out there, it's a piggy bank, it's called drainage. There's a fund out there. So if we want to do better in drainage, then you got to put more money in it. If you don't want to put more money in it, then you have to sacrifice and understand you're not going to get the response that you need to fix drainage like that. It takes money to get more drainage crews. It takes money to get better equipment, better technology. And I'm just saying, at some point, the community is going to say, I'm good like it is, and we're just going to do what we're doing. We could talk about detention to retention, but, Mayor President, if you ain't got no money to spend, how you acquiring the land? If you come to this council and say, I want to add 4 drainage, I want to hire more people, where are you getting that money from? You can't. Okay? So it's not about me saying, let's just go dump a bunch of money and pay more taxes. This is me about saying it's one or two. It's yes to accepting what we're doing, or no, it's not acceptable, so what you're going to do about it. You know, the resolution, that doesn't bother me. I'm not here to vote against it. I mean, I'm here to just make sense of it and make sure that we all understand that we're doing the best we can with what we got. And it's not going to get fixed overnight. And you can draw a resolution tonight. You can bring me another one. You can keep bringing resolutions all day. To fix the drainage, you need cash. We don't have it. I'm okay with it. I ain't putting my name out there. I think until the auditorium gets full with people that are invested in this community, and when people finally have enough and look at your budget and realize what you're working with, then at that point, the community is going to come to this council and say, we're ready to invest in drainage. Until that happens, you could direct him to go buy land in the parish, he got no money. You can direct him to get dump trucks, he ain't got no money. You could direct him to do all he wants to do in Public Works. He doesn't have drainage crews to go fix the situation. That's where we at. Councilwoman,
Mr. Chair, you have a motion on the floor to table from the parish council. You need to request a second. if
Okay.
there's a second for it.
Got a second by Councilman Tabor to table the resolution. So we've got to go to the city now, right?
To
Can
see
I-
if they would like to make a motion.
Can I say something first, since you already called me?
Sure.
Yeah, I just want to say, I get the money thing, and really, this resolution is, I'm not saying that, we have the money to do anything, but the intention of it was truly just to get our eyes on the fact that what are some projects that can we identify, and you've already done half the things in the resolution. What can we identify are some projects that would help reduce flow of water to the river? We talked about the Cypress Island swamp already, detention, retention, identifying, and I know that they're working on that.
Yes.
So this resolution is really just trying to get that ball moving in terms of what are certain things can we do that would help reduce the flow of the river, the water flowing to the river. And, identifying a project, figuring out what the time frame may be, all the things that the resolution asks for. And the funding of it, of course, we would have to find the funding if it was a viable project. And I'm assuming if they would come up with a project, it would be something that was studied and would be something that would benefit the flow of the water to the river. So truly, that is all this resolution is asking for, something, because every project that I'm hearing, other than maybe Cypress Island, talks about water, cleaning channels, and that's wonderful. But again, I go back to the original problem with that without any, viewpoint of what is that doing to getting the water to the river faster. And so I'm just looking for the few things you talked about that would kind of address that. And that is truly what I want to be identified as, not just a specific project of cleaning, but, okay, this one is a good project because it might reduce some water that's flowing to the Vermilion to help address that issue of people in that area. And all these hot spots, some of that, water that backs up from the river might be causing some of those hot spots as well. So it's not just thinking of the people on the river. But I do think that it's something that, besides just the cleaning, something that would help reduce that water. And that's all, that was truly the point. And you're right. We can direct them to do a million things, but if there's no money, it's not going to happen. And this is just truly just to see if there's a certain project or projects in the detention, retention that would help with that. And that is all this was intended to do. So I'm sorry we talked about it so long, but I think that it's something that we should support because it's just looking at another project that might help with our watershed. So again, that's my last talk, I promise.
You good. Councilwoman Aber, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. So you're right, this has been a lot of conversation that we shouldn't have had to have. God forbid that council members who represent people who live along the river are trying to do anything we can to represent our constituents. And that we actually have people who are fighting us back on that. That is blowing my mind right now that we've spent almost 40 minutes talking about whether or not a resolution that is not even legally binding, it should pass or not. That is blowing my mind, especially after we had people come to the last meeting to say, please do anything. And this isn't saying that Mayor Guillory is a bad mayor and not doing anything. It doesn't say anything in here about him doing a horrible job. He is doing a great job, and we've applauded him 2 weeks ago and this week. He is doing a great job. We're not saying Public Works is doing a bad job or that they need to be perfect. We've said that 2 weeks ago. I say that repeatedly to Public Works. What this is saying is that the people who represent people who live along the district where the Vermilion River is, we are simply asking for us to continue to keep in mind, we're not even saying go put a shovel in there, we're not saying break any federal laws, we're not saying any of that. All we are saying is to keep in mind that any projects we can do to help prevent the amount of water that is going into the Vermilion River and backing up and flooding our constituents. It may not affect any of you, and that's okay, but it affects the people, it affects our constituents. I've got 3 in here that flood repeatedly because the Vermilion water backs into their into their homes. So this is not saying that we're not trying to go to the federal government and ask for more money or support. We're doing that too. We have repeated calls with them. We are simply asking our fellow council members to support us, supporting our constituents, to please consider looking into projects that could possibly help them not flood. It's not saying find the money, use the money, none of that. It's simply saying keep this top of mind. I know I can call the mayor anytime. He returns my phone calls. That's not what I'm talking about here. All I'm asking is for you guys to please consider my constituents. That is it. Please, can you do that for me? Can you please vote yes on this resolution? Or do we need another 45-minute conversation on that? What a time suck, guys. Come on, please support my constituents. Please, this isn't costing you any money. This is incredibly frustrating. This is not meant to be political or say anything bad about my mayor. I bragged about him today multiple times, and I'm not saying that because you're sitting next to me. Guys, please, can we stop? Just vote yes or vote no. Please, 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 please. Thank you.
You got the floor.
Well, thank you for saying nice things about me, Councilwoman. I do appreciate that, and I do appreciate your engagement and everyone's engagement. Respectfully, I didn't think we needed the first 45 minutes, okay? So, but at least we came out with something that's new from the last meeting, and that is, and this is, look, this is before I knew about this resolution. The parish-wide detention plan would resolve what we're talking about. It would hold what, Council Nakhan, you explained it perfectly, so I'll just defer to your explanation. But, so parish-wide detention plan, and as in regards to the money, look, I think that's a fair point you're making, Mr. Chair. I would take the position, at least, my first glance at budget, just as Lafayette Consolidated Government as a whole, we have the money to do it. Now, at least to make a big dent in it, we're going to need some of our other stakeholders, as you mentioned, up the chain, federal government. Our congressman's working real hard, Colonel Ellison, and he's a Fulberg colonel, just in case he's watching. If I didn't correct you, he would throw something at me because he lives right down the road. But but my point on this, we have the money. Let's just get our priorities in check. Now, that being said, I will introduce several things to the councils for consideration. One of them is how we allocate our sales tax revenue. Our Director of Finance is behind me. She can speak a lot more eloquently than I can on that. But as it relates to O&M and capital, and O&M can be used for capital, but capital can't be used for O&M. That's why you see a lot of waste in spending in government, because certain individuals that have grown up in government, not most, have this idea that if you don't spend the money, you're going to lose it. Well, we're going to take that away, all right? So to get our spending under control, because you're right, Councilman, but we have to do something different. We're going to achieve it. But anyway, whatever the solution is, I know that I can count on both councils to work with us to make sure that we serve our constituents, as Councilman Aber mentioned, correctly. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councilman Lazard.
I'm sorry. I'll pass.
You pass? Okay.
Let's move on.
All right, cool deal. In reference to Liz, I just want to let you know every constituent here is affected. It's not about just your constituents, because people up north, they flood too, okay? So it's not about me not wanting to support a resolution. I just simply wanted to know where it was coming from, what it was coming from. That's it. It has nothing about me not wanting to support people that are flooding on the Vermilion. But this is a parish-wide region, so every situation, from the detention to retention to the Vermilion to everything, needs to come to the table. It's not just one-sided. And I've been to a lot of meetings where other people had stuff to say and we drug on. So this is not the first time. But I can tell you, I'm done with it. I just wanted to get a good understanding of what's going on. And I consider your constituents and those authors. I feel for your constituents. Feel for mine, because there's going to be something coming down the road. I might need some help up north. So, all right. We got a motion and a second to table on the parish, and we have, you need to get it, or y'all need to figure it out. Go ahead. Hold on, I got you.
Motion and a second to defer this resolution. Motion by Mr. Nakhan. Motion failed.
Motion fails due to a lack of a second. Okay. We need to, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
In that, is this on?
Yeah.
So in that circumstance, you would have the parish council vote on their motion to defer.
We have withdrawal of a motion by Councilman Carlson to table.
Mr.
You withdraw
Tabor.
your second? He withdraws his second. So with all this commotion, where we at?
We are back to the
We're going back to the vote on the amendment?
amendment.
Okay. All right.
And
I have a motion and a second, right, for the
We
amendment?
have the motion and second from both bodies on the proposed amendment to change direct to request.
Okay. All right. So we need to call the vote on the parish council.
We do have a speaker?
Oh, we have a public, okay.
Yes, sir. Mr. George Bentley, and he'll speak to both the amendment and the resolution, so.
Okay, so after the speakers are done, we'll vote on the ordinance, on the amendment.
Yes, sir.
And then, okay. Okay, your mic's on, sir.
I'm George Bentley. I actually have two residences. I am a resident of Andy's district, Mr. Gilbo's district. That's where I vote, but I also have a residence on File Road where my wife votes, which is in Ms. Cook's and Mr. Carlson. Okay?
Got it covered.
I came over here actually to speak to the city council about an issue on File Road. But this is right in my ballpark. I'm the longest serving member of the Bayou Vermilion District, and you can't beat me by 1 month because of the rules. I served 23 months of unfulfilled and then 2 reappointments. I had to work with the Corps of Engineers. Heard about them? The congressional office. Heard about them tonight? Okay. I also ran for the police jury in 1979 from Fayette Road. When drainage, roads, and how much shell do you need on your driveway? Shell was the rule of the day in the districts, including Municipal Auditorium, Cumberland High School, and Youngsville. Do you think I know anything about drainage? Mr. Guillory, you might want to request me to come. I'm retired, okay? Now, by the way, thank you, Andy. I've been in touch with Greg Ellison. I helped through a congressman to get him his appointment to West Point when his daddy came to me lots of years ago. Pat Caffrey, okay? So been around a little bit, okay? I can work with the Corps. The members of Bendel Gardens, the citizens, passed a petition some years ago because the district had a drainage issue and the citizens wanted to discuss it. They had to go through the Corps. I know how to talk to these people. I talked to the Corps people here. I talked to the Corps people in New Orleans, and I was assured the guy didn't want his name across the front of the Daily Advertiser. Okay? There's ways of skinning the cat. I want to point out this. Deeper, unless empty, is nothing. You can drain the river till the cows come home. Dredge the river till the cows come home. By the way, for those who don't know it, the Corps was going to dredge the Vermilion River at Lafayette in January of '06. Rita Katrina. So that's available. Just to let you know that. Okay, I've told that to the city council. The parish council never seen me before, okay? Now, if you think I'm full of baloney, somebody call me down on it. I'll take on anybody, okay? As far as, I've looked at 2 different engineering schools. I want to apply for the job as hydraulic engineer for Lafayette Parish. I can find good engineers, better than some we have on staff. Don't get me started, that's a minor. The macro is this. The only way the detention deal is something good, I did not know about that. But there's a piece of property that I don't own between the 733 bridge and Milton that's low, that's not developed. It's a possible place to take a look at. I'm not a hydraulic engineer. I just know one thing. I know 3 other names I could drop right now who saw the same thing. Because when I discussed with them, boy, you're right, that's the spot. Okay, I have worked with the Tetra Vermilion Freshwater District. What would you like to know? I'll tell you what nobody knows, okay? Lafayette Parish pays for it. St. Martin Parish pays for it. You know who gets the big bennies? Iberia and St. Mary. Guess what they pay for? Nothing. Actually, St. Landry gets a little bit of the, I won't go there, but they don't pay anything, but they actually get a little bit of a disservice because we keep them blocked a little bit. There is a bylaw to the freshwater, the Tetra Vermilion District agreement. There's a weir at Keystone. There has got to be, with available water, like a quarter inch or so flowing over that weir before they can put a drop of water into our Vermilion River. Did you happen to know that one? Now think about it. In other words, until that water's going over that, we don't get a drop of water, and we're the guys who pay for it. Think about it, we're the biggest parish. Okay? Just to let everybody know what's going on. If we do any dredging of the Vermilion River without dredging it all the way to the Gulf, we've done nothing. We only got 30 feet to drop, otherwise we're there, right? So the bottom line is dredging will do nothing. That's a big empty hole. Now, I watched them put in a retention pond across from me, and then they redid the dirt work, and they dug the pond deeper, but they didn't make it any bigger. And guess what? It's full of water today. How much more was picked up by them digging deeper? Send me that hydraulic engineer. Okay?
Sir, you got thank you. You got your 5 minutes or so.
I will be at the next meeting.
All right.
Other meeting.
Come see the parish council. We're good. Next speaker.
He was the only speaker.
Okay. All right. Let's call the vote from each council on the amendment.
Tabor?
On the amendment?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Kavanagh?
Yeah.
Carlson?
Yes?
Gilbo?
Yes.
Rubin?
No.
Lewis?
Yes.
Andy Nakane?
Yes.
Abear?
Yes.
Cook? Lazard? Motion to amend by the parish council is approved. Motion to amend by the city council is approved.
Okay. At this time, please call the vote for each council. Or is there any speakers to talk about the amendment? No? All right. Call for the vote on the ordinance as amended.
Tabor?
No.
Kavanagh?
Yes.
Carlson?
No?
Gilbo?
Yes.
Rubin?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Andy Nakane?
No.
Abear?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Lazard? Motion to adopt as amended by the parish council is approved. Motion to adopt as amended by the city council is approved.
All right. We're going to move right along to reports and or discussion. Please read.
2019 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report of Lafayette Consolidated Government by Burden Colder with Colder, Slavin and Company, LLC.
Mr. Burton, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
But you got some good news for us, right?
It's good news, but it's news as of last year, as of October 31.
Gotcha.
Of course, the situation has changed quite dramatically since then. But be that as it may, I'm here tonight to report on the year ended October 31st of 2019. I'm sure you've all gotten, or you will be getting, a 280-page report on the city parish government. It's a consolidated report. What we've done is, which we normally do, we met with the administration, with the mayor and the administration approximately about 4 weeks ago regarding some of the results that we have. So I'm here tonight to merely go over some of the high spots of it and to hopefully answer any questions that you may have in that regard. You should have received a 4-page exhibit. Does everybody have that? 'Cause that's what I'll be covering. And we've extracted this information, obviously, out of the comprehensive annual financial report. Let me say this, that the report is a clean or unmodified opinion. It's the best opinion that a CPA can give you. It's what your bond rating people look for, what the legislative auditor obviously looks for. We had 2 findings. Both of which are in the process of being corrected. Nothing necessarily major, but you're in the process, or your staff is in the process of working on those. So that being said, let's look at exhibit number 1, and we're going to cover the general funds of the, first of all, of the city, and the general fund of the parish. And then, of course, we have the totals. I'm going to shy away from the totals. Let's just focus on the city's general fund and then the parish general fund. That's on exhibit number 1. The revenues for the city, first of all, and you have a comparison of 19 versus 18. The total revenues of the city's general fund were $96.8 million last year. Everybody probably sees this in the second column. The revenues for 2019 were $100,132,000. If you look up above, you can see you've had some increases. Ad valorem taxes were pretty much steady for both years, pretty much the same at 25 million. The sales taxes were up approximately, it's approximately the 35% portion of the city's sales tax that goes in to the city's general fund, and it was 27.8 million last year and it's 28.6 million this year. So it's up about $600,000. Payment in lieu of taxes is another significant item in the city's general fund, and you can see the utility system contributed 24 million last year, and they're at 25 million for the current year, up about 1.3 million. Communication system contributed in the form of a franchise tax or payment in lieu of tax of 800,000 this current year versus 600 last year. Those are the reasons for the increase from 96 million to 100 million. Now, how did the city spend the general fund monies? You can see the bulk of it is in the form of public safety for police and fire. And you spending, last year you spent $64 million in that regard. And in general government, you spent $21 million, a total of $88.8 million in the city's general fund. That left you with an excess of revenues over expenditures before transfers of about $11 million. Now, what happened with that $11 million is you transfer some monies out to other funds. Out of the general fund of 14.9 million, but then there was some transfers coming in, if you look at that number, of 4.9 million. Look at the parish side of that in the middle two columns, and you'll see the numbers, the same numbers, because that's the transfer from the parish to the city. Okay, and it's done on a formulation basis. It has changed over the years, and Laurie could certainly explain to you how they've done it in the past. Be that as it may, the total other financing net sources or uses of funds, I should say, was $7 million. That left the city's general fund with a net surplus, an excess of $4.2 million. The city's general fund is healthy as of October at $54.9 million. It was at $51 million last year. Any questions here? If not, let's look at the parish. The parish revenues, if you look, I'm sure.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. I'm looking at when you're talking about your sales and use taxes. You had, in 2019, we're looking at roughly $29,000.
28 million. 29 million, yes, sir.
Right, that's the city. I'm only talking about the city. But when you go over to the parish, you're looking at $4 million somewhere dollars.
Right.
That's right.
That's
so
correct.
The difference is because the parish is not collecting as much sales tax and use tax as the city, correct?
That's absolutely right.
So that's the reason why.
Well, it's only on the unincorporated area.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that. Unincorporated area. Glad you pointed it out, but I do understand what you're talking about. Then when you go back down to, further down the next column, when going down, economic opportunity.
Yes, 54,000.
But let's talk about the city. How much is the city? Zero, correct?
Zero.
But then how can the parish have $54,000? What is that?
I don't know right off the top of my head, Pat, as to what makes up the 54,000 on the parish side, but I could certainly look at it and tell you.
Because my question would be, the city's collecting $28 million or $29 million, and there's no economic opportunity for the city. The parish has only collected $4 million, and there's some economic opportunity for the parish.
Right.
So
now remember that you may have economic opportunity cost for the city in other areas, in other funds, because you've got 61 different funds and account groups in this total government. 61. We're only talking about the two general funds here.
I understand that. So can you figure that out for us and just let the council members know? Because I definitely would like to know about that.
All right. We can look at it.
Sure.
I can get back with y'all.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
All right. Looking at the parish now, the revenues here last year were $12,603,000. This year, they're $12,947,000. The parish general fund only. Now, the expenditures. The expenditures went from $6.8 million last year to $6.5 million for the current year. And you can see some reductions in some of the public safety items, and also Most of the other items, to be honest with you, are pretty much the same, except for culture and recreation. That went down from $210,000 to $6,000 in the parish general fund. And the excess of revenues over expenditures towards the bottom of the page at that line item, taking revenues minus the expenditures, general fund only, was $5.7 million excess last year, and this year we have an excess of $6.4 million. And then the other financing sources, the bulk of which, as I pointed out earlier, is the internal transfers, which is the transfer from the parish general fund to the city's general fund for the payment for the overhead expenses that are incurred by the city, but some of it which benefits the parish side. And that's, so the total other financing uses was $5.7 million. The parish general fund ended up with a surplus last year of $671,000. Previous year, we had a deficit of $926,000. Yes, $926,000 last year, and your fund balance was depleted down to about $668,000. Adding the $670,000 for the current year, the parish general fund has a fund balance or reserve of $1.3 million. To be honest, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say that last year when I spoke to this council, had mentioned that we were at critical states, and we were, and we still somewhat are. It is better. I'm pleased to see that it is a surplus for this past year, to be honest with you, because Kevin, as you know, last year when we talked about this, I mean, you didn't have much of a cushion, and if you'd had the same situation in 19 as you had in 18, we'd be in a deficit position.
Yeah. Laurie, can you give the parish guys and the public an update on where we at in the general fund as of today? After this report, it says 1.3 as of October. You can't give me that? You don't want to give it to me, or you can't?
Give you the status of sales tax collections, but I don't have an update on the whole fund in and of itself. I can tell you that last year, sales taxes ended up coming in over budget, and that's primarily why we have the
Surplus. And I'm pretty sure with COVID-19, we should expect a decrease.
You know, sales taxes in the unincorporated area is very volatile, and it's what we're seeing right now is unexpected. It's not as down as it is in the urban areas. It was down about 14%, where in the city, it was down 21%.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. All right, go ahead.
Any additional questions? Okay, hearing none, let's go to exhibit number 2. Exhibit number 2 is the communication system, LUS fiber. And if you look at it, this column, we have 19 for the year ended October 31st, as well as comparison to 18. And then we put a column on the right side which clearly indicates the increases or decreases with the variance. Revenues for the fiber system was $38.8 million last year. We're at $41.2 million, or $41.4 million, I should say, for the current year, up about $2.5 million. In revenues. Expenditures went from $28.8 million to $30.5 million, up about $1.7 million. And operating income obviously went up from $9.9 million to $10,882,000. And we talked about this in the previous years with some of the council members, of course, who are back on the council, that your revenues increase in fiber, but your basic costs do not increase at the same level. So there is a profit margin generally in it, and we're seeing this here. Now, the non-operating revenues or expenses, and the bulk of it here is the interest expense on the debt. And you have debt, of course, in bonded debt as well as debt that's owed to LUS. And that's all of it in here. The total interest expense was $5.3 million last year. It's $5.1 million for the current year. And so the income before transfers, and it's minimal on the transfers. Last year, we had a surplus of $4,868,000 in fiber. This year, the bottom line is a surplus or a profit of $5,998,000. So right at $6 million of surplus for the current year. And you can see the deficit position because in the earlier years we had some significant losses, and consequently now it's down to 37 million, and this is after all depreciation has been taken. So at this current pace, guys, if you look at it, you can see if we're earning approximately $6 million in bottom line, it'll take us about 6 to 6.5 years, and we've exhausted the deficit that's in fiber, okay? And what we put down at the bottom, because there's been some discussion over the years regarding the cash flow. So if I take the net position or the surplus of 5.9 million and I add back the depreciation, the $8 million, and that's listed up above as an expenditure. But remember, we've paid for many of those items in the previous years. We're not writing them off as we use them. So consequently, that gives you a cash flow, an adjusted position of about 13.9 million to pay for the debt. And you can definitely pay for the debt, even the future debt, because right now you're only paying interest, but there's going to be some principal reductions coming up in year ending 21. And so consequently, you should be able to do it. I don't see any reason why, at this current level, that you should be able to pay for the debt on the fiber system. Questions? Okay, hearing none, let's go to exhibit number 3. And exhibit number 3 is the LUS system, which is electric, water, and sewer. And I'm going to just quickly look at the operating incomes for them. Electric did well again this year. And remember that if you look at it, you do have that transfer to the city in lieu of tax, which is included as an expenditure on LUS. And even after taking that into consideration on the 3 different services, the operating income for LUS for the electric was $15.8 million last year, and this year it's $24.9 million of operating income. Water, on the other hand, had a surplus last year of only $275,000. And remember, this is after the payments in lieu of tax, as well as the depreciation on the system. This year we had a deficit of $775,000, okay? Cash flow-wise, it's not a deficit because you'd have to add back the depreciation. And sewer is a surplus last year of $3.6 million. This year it's a surplus on operating income of $1.8 million. And the totals on the far right, if you look at it, on total revenues of about $230 million in the 3 services for electric, water, and sewer, you generated a profit after paying $25 million to the general fund. LUS generated an operating income of $26 million. And then from that, we deduct the interest and so on. But the bottom line for the system, for the 3 systems, after transfers out, was $21 million. So the total revenues or bottom line of this system that's generated for the city of Lafayette is about $46 million. And the way I'm coming up with that, the $25 million that went to the general fund, which helps the general fund obviously, and then the $21 million of remaining bottom line after that. Is everybody clear on that? Okay? Hearing no questions, let's go ahead and go to the last page. And what we're going to do is kind of sum up everything for the consolidated government, which includes the cities, all of the cities' funds being not only the general fund or LUS and communications, but also all of the special revenue funds, as well as the parish, all of the parish special revenue funds, debt service funds, all of the revenues coming in. If you lump it all together, all of it that's in the 61 different funds of this government. Total revenues of this government in 18 was $625 million. Revenues this past year, $638 million. Expenditures, how did you spend the money? Total expenditures of $583 million last year. This year they're $596 million. And if you look at the excess or deficiency, but it's an excess for both years, look how close it is. It was $41.7 million last year, and it's $41.2 million for the current year. And of course, we deduct from that the interest expense and so on and so forth. But bottom line, and if you look at it, the very bottom line, it says excess of revenues over expenditures, all LCG funds. If you look at that, the third to last line item, for last year, it was $61 million. But let me caution that. If you look up above in other revenues with a government, when you issue debt, it shows in as a revenue, okay? So there's $28 million of debt that was issued last year, which is shown as another financing source. And that's, so I'd have to deduct that off of it. So if I take the 60 million minus the 28, if everybody's following me here, the bottom line surplus on $638 million of revenues, we had a surplus last year, LCG government-wide, of $32 million, okay? Last year, we had no debt that was issued. The surplus was $29.8 million. And again, this is bringing everything together from this 280-page document, which you have already received. Any questions?
I'm not seeing none at this time, Mr. Burton.
All right. Again, we appreciate the opportunity of serving the government for the past year. We're looking forward to hopefully continuing that in the future. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And council members, immediately following the meeting, I have copies of the full audit for you in the box there.
Okay. All right. Next item.
Begin receiving input on suggested charter changes.
Okay, at this time, I'll give the floor to Chairman for the Lafayette City Council, Councilmember Ms. Pat Lewis. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Andy Nakam. I want everyone to know that this is not a resolution or an ordinance. It's only a discussion item. Following the charter approval by the vote of the citizens, I have been asked to place this item on the agenda once the new council and the administrator is seated. The goal is to allow for council and citizen comments along with the administration input to the existing charter. My intent is to have transparency, open discussion, and gather as much suggestions on the matter. Then we can determine whether there is enough feedback and interest to convey a charter commission or committee for a ballot initiative. And what I am saying is that it's time, I believe, for us to start having discussions. We're getting ready to start the budget. I'm going to more or less talk to the new council members that when we started the budget, there's a lot of things we have been hearing. We've been receiving emails concerning the budget. So I want you guys to be prepared. And while we gone over the budget and other things that's in the budget or in the charter that we may not be happy with. So we wait to do something about the charter. We're just going to prolong. And I believe in transparency because we can all remember when we decided to partial split the charter. It wasn't that much conversation and discussion. I think it was about only 6 months. But prior to that in '92, there was a lot of discussion about deconsolidation or consolidation. And now, what I'm asking is for feedback from the public, the citizens, because we were elected by the citizens. The council did not elect the citizens of Lafayette Parish. So let's think about that, and I encourage all feedback as much as possible from my council members or my colleagues from the administration, from the public. You guys that's here and the people that's here and listening and looking at it on television, I really would appreciate that so we can start this discussion. That's it for right now.
Okay. Councilman Gilbo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Lewis, I understand what you're trying to do, and I do appreciate that opportunity to hear from the public. And certainly, we want to be transparent in all of our work. We have said that repeatedly. I like the idea that we want to hear from the public. We want to have them to contact us, let us know what's on their mind, what's their concerns. I would also suggest that we have public hearings here or open mic here at council meetings. Show up and speak up on this issue. That's an opportunity. We are a committee, as I see it, of 10. We're sitting here. We could have had individuals approach us tonight on that issue of the charter amendments or proposed amendments or concerns that they have. I know the mayor-president has call-in shows, radio shows that you're certainly welcome to call in there. He has public forums open, town hall forums, I'm sorry, that you can attend. And I attended one, and it was well attended. The room was almost full. Great comment, great interaction between the mayor and the citizens. Again, an opportunity to sit and discuss any amendments that you may have heartburns over. I know for one, I've been going to different organizations within my district and neighborhood meetings and listening to my constituents. And while I applaud the opportunity to receive this, I think the opportunities always have been there. If it is a concern, then speak up, just like we have heard passionately about drainage and roads and all the other major issues in this parish. This is an opportunity, okay? So we welcome that. We want to be transparent, and certainly the opportunities are there. I don't think we need to provide another vehicle. Show up. You know, to me, the whole process needs to be well-defined where we make sure that we do hear from all of you and give you that opportunity. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Rubin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, Mr. Pat, I appreciate your concerns. And I, too, like Mr. Gilbert would say, I think we have avenues already. I think the discussion is very important. We need to discuss the charter because there are things in there that even me as a councilman, I have questions about. So I think the line of discussion is very important. Now we're bringing it to the public, and we need the public to have some input in what's going on. As far as a commission or a committee, I'm not leaning towards that, but I do like the fact that we're opening it up and we're letting the citizens know that it's time for us to start engaging conversation in regards to this charter situation. And I think that would be a good solution right there. Like you said, just come to the town halls and come to the council meetings, and we take care of it there. That way we'll have it on the record instead of in the back room trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay. Thank you. Councilwoman Cook, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you. I think that the intent of this, from what I understand from Mr. Lewis, was simply just to put it out there that if you have any discussion or a suggestion or any concerns about the charter and how the split has happened in terms of moving forward with maybe things you'd like to see different, I think it's just the intention of, you know, we all have email addresses, we all have numbers, so if anyone has something that they would like to address with their council person, it's just opening up the avenues for you to go and contact your council person and maybe ask questions about it. Maybe you have some concerns that we can answer those questions and you'll can move forward from there, or you have some suggestions that might make things better. So I think that's really what the intent of this. And maybe a committee might be premature at this point, so maybe it's just reaching out to your council people, your council person, man or woman, and give them, you know, your thoughts on it. So I think that's what the intention was. So I appreciate the intent there, Mr. Lewis.
Okay.
Just
Councilman Gilbert.
one more comment. I like to think that we're reminding our constituents there are opportunities to come before us in different formats, in different forums, to not only discuss charter issues, but any issues, and we need to hear from you, and that's a viable way of doing it. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any public comment on the discussion item?
Wallace Senegal?
Okay. Hold on one second, Mr. Wallace. Mayor President, you chime in?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your patience, Mr. Senegal.
I always have patience.
Always good, you do, and it's always good to see you too, by the way.
Thank you, thank you.
I appreciate the council's discussion here. I think this is a very important topic, so putting it out here in the open like that is really good. I just want to kind of give you my thoughts. So in regards to, I think Councilman Gilbo and some other council members mentioned a committee versus the council's handling this very, very important charter. Think of the charter as our local constitution, the supreme law of this parish. So I applaud the notion that you, 10 members, have been elected by your constituents, by our peers, by our neighbors, to handle these very delicate situations in a very public forum that you can get input on. So if we're going to have any discussions in regards to amendments to the charter, I strongly urge and respectfully request that those decisions, those resolutions, those conversations be handled by these bodies of government, these two honorable chambers that were selected and filled by the people. So no to a committee, yes to council members talking about it. Because you are the committee, as the councilman said. You are the committee. Public input, I just want to echo what everyone is saying up here. Think about it. I believe we have 26 council meetings a year. Half of those, 13, or open mic night, so just like tonight. You can come up and talk about anything you want, whether it's a charter, I almost said constitutional amendment, charter amendment, or maybe the charter amendment's on the agenda. That would be additional times that the public can talk about it. That's your legislative branch right here, right in front of us, that you get to address in person and say whatever you want to say within the rules. And then on the executive side, you have at least 12 opportunities. We have monthly town halls. We've varied the time. The next one's going to be in the evening so we can catch a different audience and make sure that we're having that opportunity to hear from our people that we're so blessed to serve. Also have 2 one-hour live radio shows. There's no script. You can call in and ask and give your opinion on anything that you feel is important. Charter amendments are included. Also, I have learned so much over the last 12 months. And if there's anything that I've learned is we are stronger as one parish than we are divided. That's my opinion. We are stronger united as one parish on the issue of drainage. We just talked about drainage for 45 minutes. Councilor Lazar said 46, but I wasn't going to argue. 50. Think about that. Drainage doesn't have any, they don't care what municipality you live in. I promise you, we are stronger as a parish economically, drainage, infrastructure-wise, a voice in Baton Rouge, a voice in Washington, as one parish, one family. So, and I've come a long way. I used to be one of those. Lafayette needs a mayor and a parish president. Lafayette needs a city council until I started looking into it. But that's my journey, and I invite you to take that journey. So any discussions that we have as far as deconsolidation, I think we should have equal conversations about full consolidation if we're talking about it. But I'll tell you this is a charter that we have. It's not a charter I voted for, but it's a charter I'm going to make work. And we're going to make work together with these council members. So, Ms. Senegal, thank you for your time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Now, I got to get my thoughts all back together. I'm trying to stay on your thoughts and what you said. But that's good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Sir. I just need to say something right quick. Okay, just like we heard earlier a few minutes ago about no committee or commission. And we also heard about, we discussed the last about 50 minutes or 46, 50 minutes coming here at the council. So do you want to have conversation about the amending the charter? We talking about 50 minutes on drainage. So we talking about hours on amending the charter. Another thing about amending the charter I want you guys to be aware of, when you amend the charter, it's by the people, the citizens. It's not coming to the council and asking to amend it. We cannot amend the charter. The voters, the people, you the people, that's who can amend the charter. So it has to come to a vote. So it's the difference between coming and hearing us debate or hearing you guys talk about it. It has to be how? On election day. That's how you amend the charter. So do you want to just come here or go to a town hall meeting that may not go anywhere, but just listen us to talk? So keep that in mind. It's not about 46 minutes or 50 minutes. It's about hours just coming here. And then what we do, we go home, and what happens?
Nothing.
That's it.
Good evening.
Hey, I gotta let this man talk. Yep. The man's been waiting a long time.
Yeah, y'all sucking up all what I had to say.
Look,
but that's okay. I'm gonna get it all
if you
back.
go just a little bit over, I'm gonna let you have that time because they done warped your brain.
All right, thank you. Good evening.
I'm gonna give you the respect,
Lady
Mr.
Councilman
Senegal.
and men councilman. I'm here tonight. My name is Wallace Senegal. I'm a concerned community activist in District 1, formerly District 3. I was a big person that didn't want to fix the charter because I already knew we had a mayor president, and they was talking about we was just gonna have a mayor in the city of Lafayette, and he know he's not just a mayor, he's still a mayor president. But I'm here tonight. You know, y'all, I want to thank you, Councilman Lewis, for bringing the charter amendment up and how it needs to be done. But I'm here to ask if you guys going to form a committee to where we could elect our own chief of policemen instead of have an appointed chief of policemen. All our municipality got appointed chief, appointed sheriff. We have appointed marshal. We have appointed sheriff here. I think we should have our own appointed chief, not appointed chief, but elected chief, where the people of the city of Lafayette elect our chief of policemen. And I thank you guys, and I'm Wallace Senegal, and I approve that message.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
And there were 6 citizens who called into the council office, and they are in support of charter changes and more discussion.
Okay. We'll make note of that. All right. Mayor President, you got the floor. Hit the button.
Your patience. I was eager to join in that conversation. I should have been more polite, so thank you for understanding.
Oh, hold on, man. All right.
You see what he did? He did that on purpose.
No, I was trying to, you don't got a button over there. I was trying to get your button.
No, thank you. Councilman Lewis brought up a good point, but I just want to kind of clarify, my thoughts on that, and maybe for everybody to consider. What I'm referring to in the committee and what everybody's talking about is what procedural vehicle gets it to a vote of the people. So by charter, and we have our legal representation over there. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Escott. One of the methods is a commission, and it's my understanding that whatever that commission comes up with goes to the vote of the people. Okay? Now, when you do this, and I'm just giving my humble opinion, but whenever you create these committees and commissions, a lot of things happen behind closed doors. Well, I'm looking at a bunch of text messages, like from June 2018, July 2018, February 2019, March 2019, April 2018, a whole bunch of text messages from people doing things regarding a charter behind closed doors. I don't appreciate that. I do appreciate open dialogue. I also appreciate our elected officials, who I'm so blessed to serve with, hearing open dialogue from the public. There's your committee. So we have a committee that can do it, and you're stuck with it. Or you can have a democratic, bicameral approach, 2 chambers that are talking with the public about these very important issues, working with our legislature maybe to have an elected chief of police as opposed to an appointed chief of police. All these very important topics. We're a charter of the people. We are a chartered jurisdiction. That is very important. I just think you should have as much voice in your charter as you possibly can. Yes, it may be slower. Yes, Councilman, we may be here till 2 o'clock in the morning, but you know what? I get paid the same. I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. I'm good with democracy. I like it. I'm good with public input. Big fan of it. Big fan of it. Yeah. All right, so that's my thoughts. I appreciate it.
All right.
No, it won't be quick.
Councilman Lewis, you got-
No,
it
we
won't
won't, it'll be quick. I think we just started the conversation. Thank you.
I agree.
We just started the conversation.
And that's good.
Just keep getting feedbacks.
That's right.
So that way we can maybe perhaps move to our commissioner or our committee. Thank you.
Or the council.
Or the council.
No committee.
There you go.
We just actually talk about it.
Yeah,
All right, are we done?
we done.
We sure?
Definitely.
Anybody else?
Anybody else?
All right.
Anybody else?
Hey, yeah, absolutely. Mr. Lewis, you decline. Councilman Nakane, you decline. All right, let's move it forward here. Ordinances for final adoption. This is a public hearing. Blue sheets are available for anyone wishing to address the council. The 5-minute rule does apply. Somebody got a phone on. Technology. Mr. Senegal, you left your phone on?
It was yours.
I'm joking. All right, let's go ahead. Jeremy, please read.
Joint Ordinance 55, 2020, a joint ordinance of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council amending the fiscal year 1920 operating budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government to adjust amounts for risk management uninsured lost reimbursements to actual.
Okay, need a motion and a second by the Parish Council. Motion by Councilman Carlson, second by Councilman Tabor.
Need a motion and second by the city council. Motion by Mr. Andy Nakane, second by Ms. Liz Hebert.
All right. Not seeing any council discussion on regards to this ordinance. Ms. Williams, any blue cards?
No, sir.
All right, please call the vote for each council.
Kevin Nakane?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Gilbo?
Yes.
Rubin? Tabor?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Andy Nakane?
Yes.
Abear?
Yes.
Cook? Lazard? Motion to adopt by Parish Council is approved. Motion to adopt by City Council is approved. Joint Ordinance 58, 2020, a joint ordinance of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council amending the fiscal year 1920 operating budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by decreasing anticipated revenue to actual revenue received from homeowner contributions associated with prior year 2016 home housing rehabilitation program carried out by the Community Development Department and transferring budgets to match actuals in order to facilitate grant closeout.
Need a motion and a second by Parish Council. Motion by Councilman Gilbo, second by Councilman Tabor.
Motion from the city council. Motion by Ms. Nanette Cook, second by Ms. Liz Hebert.
All right, at this time, is there any council discussion on that regards? Seeing none. Ms. Williams, any blue cards?
No, sir.
Roll them.
Carlson?
Yes.
Gilbo?
Yes.
Rubin?
Yes.
Tabor?
Yes.
Kevin Nakane?
Yes.
Abear?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Lazard?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Andy Nakane?
Yes.
Motion to adopt by Parish Council is approved. Motion to adopt by City Council is approved. Joint Ordinance 59, 2020, a joint ordinance of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council amending the fiscal year 1920 operating budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by increasing revenues in the amount of $313,148.84 received from Willowbrook 2 Apartments Partnership and appropriating within the Community Development Department.
Okay, need a motion and a second by the Parish. Motion by Councilman A.B. Rubin, second by Councilman Carlson.
Motion from the city. Motion by Mr. Nakane, second by Ms. Liz Hebert.
All right, not seeing any council discussion at this time. Okay, any comment?
No, sir.
Please call the roll.
Gilbo?
Yes.
Rubin?
Yes.
Tabor?
Yes.
Kevin Nakane?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Lazard?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Andy Nakane?
Yes.
Abear?
Yes.
Motion to adopt by Parish Council is approved. Motion to adopt by City Council is approved.
Great, let's move to introductory ordinances. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion and a second to intro in global items 11 and 12 from the Parish Council. Do I get a motion? Motion by Councilman Gilbo, second by Councilman A.B. Rubin.
I need a motion and second from the city. Motion by Ms. Nanette Cook, second by Mr. Glenn Abear. I'm sorry, Glenn Lazar.
Glenn Aber, who's that? That's the other attorney. No, I'm joking. All right, Jeremy, please read the following ordinance.
Joint Ordinance 60, 2020, a joint ordinance of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council authorizing the non-warranty donation of various adjudicated properties to Habitat for Humanity pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statute 47-2205. Joint Ordinance 61, 2020, a joint ordinance of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council amending and restating Joint Ordinance 49, 2020, reorganizing the Lafayette Airport Commission.
All right, is there any comments from the public concerning the above introductory ordinances? All right, I caught you. Not seeing any council discussions, no public comment. Call for a vote on each council to introduce in global, please.
Rubin?
Yes.
Tabor?
Yes.
Kevin Nakane?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Gilbo?
Yes.
Lazard?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Andy Nakane?
Yes.
Abear? Cook? Motion to introduce in globo by Parish Council is approved. Motion to introduce in globo by City Council is approved.
I adjourn the city council meeting.
I adjourn the joint meeting and the parish council meeting. Thank you. Have a good night. Stay tuned for the Lafayette City Parish.